whether it is best to live in London or in the countryside. So if you are planning to live in the UK and you're wondering whether London is a good idea or living in the countryside, this video Hi, Linda Eze here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to this channel, welcome. My name is Linda Eze. I'm a registered nurse and I work in the UK. In this channel, I share information about nursing abroad, getting jobs abroad, health and lifestyle. So if you're interested in any of these topics, be sure to subscribe and like this video. Share with everyone that is around you that actually need the information I share. This is my channel. That's the most important thing. Okay? In today's video, I'm going to be comparing living in London and living outside London. That is living in the countryside. So if you're planning to live in the UK and you're wondering if you should pick a job in London or to pick a job in the countryside, keep watching. So I'm going to be discussing this based on the job opportunities, the salary, the cost of food, the transportation, the accommodation, the weather. So stay with me till the end of this video so that you get all the information that you need so that you make the best decisions. Okay, so the job opportunities, of course, because London is a city, it will be obvious that it is more likely that you get the job that you need when you need it in London, in the sense that because of the population and the city, you have so many offices, establishments, the headquarters of different companies. It's most likely that you are able to get jobs easily. For example, when we moved to London and my husband also joined me, it did not take him time to get a job. Immediately he applied for a job. He was getting calls and invitation for interviews and everything, so he was always speaking. And this is not the case for my colleagues that are outside London. I have some of my colleagues that have stayed months and months and their partners are still looking for jobs. Nurses and those in healthcare, because you have the NHS, you have the private hospitals and everything in London, you are more likely to get jobs. Okay, you have like choice to make, even though because there's shortage of nurses everywhere, you are likely to get jobs anywhere you are in the UK. But in terms of choice to make, you have a variety of jobs in the UK that you can choose from. You have a lot of opportunities that you can choose from when you are in London. But if you're a nurse, the good thing is that anywhere you are in the UK, you can always change jobs because nurses are sought after. Health workers are generally short in the UK, so you can always get jobs anywhere. But your partners as well, it might be a little more challenging to get jobs outside in the countryside. Okay, so how about the salary? Of course, in London, because of the high cost of living, they are also aware that the cost of living in London is higher than so many other parts of the England, let me say, or part of the UK. So they have an allowance for high cost areas. Okay, and this allowance also depends, it is not the same for every part of London. So the more central you are, the allowance increases, but the more you move outside the central London, the allowance will reduce. So so if you're a nurse, you receive additional amounts of money in your salary because you work in London. So that additional pay is actually supposed to help you to now get your accommodation, transportation and everything. So there is additional pay. So but if you're a nurse, remember there is a particular, the pay scale is the same for the whole of UK. Then it now depends on where you're living. If you're living in London, then you have that additional allowance, but if you're living in the countryside, you will not have that allowance. But just wait to the end of this video because you will now hear the stories from all angles. How about the transportation? Okay, in London, the transportation is really very good. You have the London Underground, the Overground, you have the trains, you have the buses, you have of taxis that you can use. It is also very safe if you are somebody that wants to walk. You can also cycle. There are cycle lanes and everything for people to use. So I can actually say that the transportation is really very good. If you don't have a car, you can actually get yourself to your workplace safely whenever you want to, in the middle of the night, at any time. There are always trains and buses that can take you back home, and also cabs that can take you to any part of London that you want to go to. So the transportation is really very good, unlike the countryside where you will really need to have a car, especially if you're staying just outskirts of London and you are working inside London. Many of them will really need to drive so that they will be able to get themselves to work. Those in the countryside, they really require to drive because their own train times, their bus times and everything, it will not be as frequent as the one we have in London. So outside London, most people usually find driving very helpful. One thing again about the driving is that in London, if you have a car and you're driving, you have so many places that you have to pay congestion charges. There are times when you move into central London and you have to pay extra charges. You have to pay for parking in so many places. You have to pay, the more if you park your car in a particular place, the more the car stays. If it stays more than the time it's supposed to stay, you still have to pay more. And then again, when you move inside central London also, I hear there are charges as well. So the parking, and everything, so many people that have cars in London, some people don't really use them when they are going to their workplaces, especially if you are able to go to your workplaces by bus and it is that easy. So many people don't really drive, because even in the workplace as well, you also pay for your parking, okay? And the parking is a lot more expensive than that you have in the countryside. In the countryside, you are also supposed to pay for your parking in so many places, but I heard the charge is a lot less. So whether London or countryside, there are parking charges and everything, but that of London is a lot more, okay? So how about the accommodation? My goodness, accommodation, one thing that actually takes the whole chunk of someone's earning in the UK is the accommodation. And when it comes to London accommodation, that is next level of charges, okay? So what happens is in the UK, for you to rent, you also there's a particular salary range for a particular type of accommodation that you can get. So if you're earning say between 20,000 to 30,000 pounds per year, there are certain accommodations and locations that you cannot actually get. So if the rent is 2,000 pounds, it's most likely that any agent that is helping to rent the accommodation will not give it to someone whose salary is between that range of 20,000 to 30,000. I hope you understand what I mean. So in London, it means that if you're working in central London, you have to live very far away, let's say an hour, 45 minutes and all from your workplace for you to get an accommodation that your salary allows you to pay for. So this is one of the horrors that I got when I moved to the UK, when I moved to London. In London, for example, for studio apartments, for 1-bedroom flats, for 2-bedroom flats, you are looking at least, most times you're looking at 500 and above. I know in central London is even up to 1,000 for student apartments, 1,200 for studio apartments, for one bedroom flat, for 2-bedroom flat is most times is even more than 1,000 pounds. You start moving from central London to a little bit outside central London and everything, you start getting cheaper housing, but still compared to the countryside is even not comparable, in the sense that when we went to Northern Ireland for our OSCE exam, we discovered that what you pay for a studio apartment is like a 1-bedroom flat that has the toilet and the bathroom and the kitchen and everything inside it. So what you pay for a student apartment in London is able to pay for a very good house for you in Northern Ireland and so many other countryside in the UK, you know. So the difference is a lot. So even the high cost allowance that is added to the salaries of people that work in central London, you cannot really say that will help you to rent a better apartment, or that it will help you for your it doesn't really make a difference. If you check it at the end of the day, those that live outside London are able to live in bigger houses, able to afford their housing and everything than people that live in central London, even with the additional allowance, okay? So people that live outside London, they're able to live bigger housing, more space and everything. The apartments in central London, most times they are always very small, unless you're willing to pay thousands and thousands of pounds for complexes and for mansions and everything. So generally, you need to have like a very good salary range for you to afford living in bigger complexes in London. So how about the culture? What I love about London is that the cultural diversity can actually be felt. If you go to your children's school and everything, you discover that the kids there are from different parts of the world and everything. So somehow it makes you very comfortable. So even in my workplace, discover that people come from different parts of the world, different parts of Africa, Asia, and so many people from different European countries and everything. So it actually makes you feel very comfortable and feel very, very, very welcome. So people are very welcoming in London. People greet and everything, especially in your workplace. Although where you are living, like where you find accommodation, is most likely that nobody is going to talk to you and everything, and it's very hard for people to even respond to you even where you are living. But you discover that at some places where you have real relationship, like your children's school or your workplace, your particular ward, that's where you see people that you talk to and everything. But when it comes to your neighbors and everything, it's very hard for you to see anybody that even talk to you or even respond when you greet. But generally is a very welcoming place, and when you feel that even I am a foreigner, but the next person close to me is also a foreigner and everything, makes you a bit relaxed. Okay, so I love it because it is really, really culturally diverse. Maybe a little bit different from people that live outside London, because those countryside, they are particularly for a particular group of people. It's most likely that the cultural diversity will be a little bit more narrow than that we experience in London. So in London, I believe it is more culturally diverse, and from people's experience and everything, outside London is more narrow when it comes to the cultural diversity. You still see people from different places in the world, but it is not going to be as the one we have in London. In London, you are more likely to find communities, your own communities from Nigeria, from any part of Africa. You are more likely to see people from your own community in London than you have in some other in the countryside. There are also some places in the UK where you find a particular group of people. Like there are places that you go that you find many people from India. There are places that you go, many people from Nigeria living in that particular place. But when it comes to like a mix, you may find it more. How about the weather? Oh my God, from my experience, the weather changes a lot. Like we discovered that most people, when they are moving around during the winter time, even anytime, people always have umbrellas in their pockets, in their bags, in their pram, wherever it is. So we always have rain covers for the kids. We always have umbrellas in our bags. But the weather doesn't stop anybody from doing anything. Bus stations, the bus stops are always very close to where you live. The train stations, they are always very, very close, and then you can always track it with your phone and an app and everything. So it is very easy to move around. So even with the weather, you can still go from place to place in London, which is very good. But the weather actually changes and everything. Of course, London is a very, very beautiful city. You can always see places to see. Now that it is Christmas time, you see decoration everywhere. There are so many malls. The high streets are decorated. The shopping malls are really very beautiful. You have places to visit. You have the Big Ben. You have the London Eye. You have the You have the aquarium. You have places to visit. And so even though you have all these beautiful places in London where to visit and everything, one thing again is in beautiful places to visit in the countryside. You have even more castles in the countryside. You have very, very beautiful places that people move out from London to go and see. The beaches, the castles, and so many beautiful places that people move outside London to go and visit. Wales, Scotland, the castles in Wales, in Scotland, and Northern Ireland, and so many other places. The little we visited in Northern Ireland, we saw so many beautiful places in Northern Ireland. So even though London is beautiful, you also have very beautiful places outside London. So for sightseeing, it is also everywhere. It is both in London and the country. So I would say generally food is cheap in London as well, but some people say it's still cheaper in the countryside. But generally food is cheap in London as well. That's my own experience. I feel it is cheap because with little amount of money from your salary, you can actually feed very well without you feeling like it is actually affecting you. So at the end of the day, it actually depends on you. It depends on what you want to achieve. It depends on your goals as a family or as an individual, so you choose the one that is best for you. In my own case, I would say that when I actually chose to come and work in London is because of other plans that I have. So when I felt that when I come to London, it will be easier for me to carry out all these other things that I want to. So it actually depends on you. If you are an individual moving to London, I would say you may find London very interesting because there are shared accommodation, so the cost of accommodation will be far reduced for you, and so you can easily stay in London and make estimate. But if you have a family and you require a bigger space, so living outside London is actually a good one. If you want a big apartment that you can easily afford and everything, then outside London. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you found this very helpful. Please like, subscribe to my channel, and always come back for more. In my next video, I'm going to be sharing my accommodation story, and I hope you are going to find it very useful as well. Share my videos, my friends, share my videos, subscribe, and always come back for more. I wish you the very best, and I'll see you in my next video.